I always question myself, what is the purpose of my life? The purpose is to clean a toilet all the rest of my life? That's not what I came here.
Education is a right that people need to have. You know, I mean, it's not possible just to go around if you don't have any access to education. You need education for everything. You know, you need education to be a better person. You need education to have a better future. You need education to understand your past. You need education to move forward, to have a family. You know, you need education to be very productive for the society. Education is the core of the human race, in my opinion.
In this role as the youth coordinator of the youth network that I work with, I'm very honored to work with this group. I am Canadian born, I'm white, I grew up in Canada, I've known no hunger, I've had access to education, but I have the honor and the privilege to work with a very diverse group of newcomer youth from around the world. There's a range of issues and problems that come up with the youth group, range in different settlement things, going through the immigration processes, navigating complicated refugee processes, separation from family members, isolation here, and then on top of those things, all the experiences that youth anywhere face, like social anxiety or trouble with school or different abilities and navigating different abilities and kind of trying to find your place in existing systems.
The first year was difficult because I was alone at school. Nobody wants to be my friend, obviously because I couldn't speak the language. It was difficult to adapt into a different culture. We are scared of what if immigrant came and show up to our door. We have to hide. And it's depressing knowing that we don't have actually a future. It's been very difficult because I don't have status, and every time I try to do something new about my career, the doors are always closing for me.
When I attended high school, I did not have status. I was illegal in the country. Since I applied for high school, I was always scared because I didn't know if immigration was going to show up at my school or something. So I talked to my principal, my mother talked to my principal. I was going to stop going to high school, but my principal told me that I could continue, that I was allowed to continue being in school, and that if immigration would ever show up and ask for me, someone else was going to go and look for me, and they were going to take me to either my house or to a safe place.
Access in education, in my opinion, is one of the emerging challenges in the group. It's something that's really become prominent lately through the youth group. A big challenge that we face in the youth group in Ontario, youth, regardless of their status, in theory have access to high school. So I think it's section 49.1 of the Education Act in Ontario says, regardless of what your status is, you can go to high school. So everybody's admitted to high school until the age of 18. There's different kinds of things, or until you graduate, whichever comes first. However, that's in theory, like that policy exists, but in practice it looks very different. A lot of youth come to me and they say, like, I've tried to go to high school, I can't get in.
I finished high school, I did finish college, and I was accepted in university before I came here. I could not went to high school. I attempted 2 times. Went to the administration office and asked about it, and because I was non-status, they said no, even though I could actually ingress to high school, I was not allowed to. They just heard non-status, and they just said, no, sorry, you can't. And it crushed me big time first time. Second time I did the attempt, but I didn't put my hopes too high and they said no again, but at least I was expecting it. The only assistance that I got was from the school counselor, and he just said, just don't try because you're not gonna get anything. So I don't know if that person just didn't know that there was actually a right for me to have education because I was underage and I was on like high school level. For my age, I could have been able to go, and he just said no. So I stopped trying and I stopped asking because I tried different schools, different districts, and it was the same thing. So I realized, why bother? Why try again if it's going to be the same thing?
However, past high school, there's nothing, right? So a lot of youth face the challenge when they graduate from high school, regardless of their status, they try to go to college or university, and there's nothing that they can do. There's very, very limited options for youth to continue in education if they don't have permanent residence or citizenship.
Some of them, then did they make a decision to come to Canada? You know, they were brought up by their parents or sent by their parents or by someone, and they appear here. And then they have to deal with the lack of access to post-secondary education that is so frustrating. And they don't have a way to go back either. And they don't have a place to go back, you know, because it may be civil war back home, maybe poverty, no future, no family. So in that case, they are stuck here.
A lot of youth have come in as inferior participants in their immigration or refugee processes, and the decision to stay in Canada without status or to continue in Canada and pursue other means for regularization was the decision of parents or guardians or somebody else, and the youth weren't really valued in their opinion in that process. So they're not always aware of what's going on, and the moment they find out that they don't have status is that meeting in the guidance counselor's office when their whole world crashes around them and they realize that all my dreams and everything I've been working for, it stops now because I don't have any next steps. I don't have anywhere to go from here. And it throws them into situations of like precarious work situations or health situations, depression, like lots of other impacts come on.
My family is not here, I'm just alone here. So I just keep on assuring them that I'm fine. I just tell them I'm doing okay, even though sometimes I go through the rough and thorns of life, but I just have to make them be happy because I don't want to tell them that I'm facing some difficulties. I encountered a lot of problems to access post-secondary education. That is why I'm not in school right now. Because of my status, I had to pay as an international student.
My mom feel bad about the situation because she thought that she made a right choice of bringing me here, and I was doing like well in school, and she thought that maybe one day I'll become somebody. Like for example, I wanted to be a police officer. That's what I told her I wanted to be. But then if I don't have that, then what am I going to do now? You know. Yeah, I think it was a right choice because back home there's no help, there's no support of education, there's no jobs that you can say, yeah, this is what I want to do. You know, and it's hard back home. It's difficult.
When I was at the age of applying for college, I didn't have my status was a temporary resident, so I didn't qualify to apply for OSAP or for any grant or scholarship. So it was a really difficult part of my life because I had to stay at home. Like I wanted to do something, I wanted to go to school, but I was pulled back because I didn't have the status, the appropriate status to apply for OSAP.
Even like I checked and I realized that the only thing that was going to be able to study was high school. Well, that's what I thought back then. And then I realized that I could not do high school or anything else. So I could not go to college because I didn't have a student visa or any social insurance number or anything else because I was non-status and I still non-status. So I cannot do anything about it. My family, they invited me here for vacations, and I don't know how surprised you're staying. You're actually living here, Otherwise, you're gonna have to be back home by yourself and work to live because we're not gonna support you or send you any money, which was, I had no choice but stay.
It's like being in jail, and then someone dropped the key, and you don't know when you are going to be released. But it's the same feeling. They are here. They don't have a status. They don't know when they will be allowed to get into university or have money to do it. So it's one of the most frustrating things because it's nothing that they can do. You know, I think the society, Canada, the system has to start taking a look and provide the opportunities to them. They are here stuck, frustrated, in a jail that don't have access to education.
Not everybody knows what happened to them. Even in the school system, they don't know what happened to them. In the school system, they don't know that if you don't have a status, you don't have access to the post-secondary. Sometimes there are some counselors in the school system that bring a lot of expectations to these youth.
Each time I sought for information, it was rather unfortunate that I probably asked from the people who did not know the right answers to give me. And so I kept on paying the application fees. I kept on paying the application fees to different schools. And then each time the counselor would tell me, or whoever I asked would tell me, well, you don't, if you just apply and you would get your admission letter. They didn't like inform me that when your letter comes, you're going to have to pay like an international student.
People directed me, like, tell me you can apply, but they're not sure if you can, like, because of the status issue, you will not be able to. I applied for post-secondary education, asked my guidance counselor. Then I told my situation, but he said, probably you won't make it or whatnot, but he told me to apply for like scholarships, like in colleges and stuff. And my principal paid for my my application fee to apply for college and stuff, Sheridan and Humber. I didn't have enough status at that time.
I'm currently a student at York University studying health policy. I had a little bit of assistance. Luckily, I'm naturally a person who's very enthusiastic, so I was able to knock doors and ask questions. So, you know, there are support networks like the FCJ Refugee Center, Covenant House, and the Military Foundation, where I had to go ask people like, you know, or my workers, like, how do I go to university? And then they'll put me to a direction where I can ask the question and get a better answer. So, like places like FCJ were able to point me towards the right places for the right answers. So that's this kind of support I had. I had guidance per se.
We believe that if we do numbers and we do a research because there is not enough information, we will see that it's a big problem. It's a big challenge here in Canada.
You may be aware that Toronto has recently passed a motion to become a sanctuary city, or to have access without fear, where city services are open to people without official immigration status, which recognizes and kind of highlights the fact that there is a large portion of the population living in Toronto without official immigration status. For finding the exact number of people, especially youth, that are living in Toronto without official immigration status or that are without status at all, that was nearly impossible to do because people are afraid to disclose that information. There's no cohesive mechanism to collect that data. So numbers are estimated around 200,000. Those numbers are from a long time ago. I haven't seen any different numbers, but the fact is that in my own experience, the population is here, it's large, and it's growing. And I think that reflects some of the recent changes to immigration and refugee policy in Canada, and that a lot of people are finding themselves in more precarious status here.
The people that are facing this lack of access to education that is around our office is the most dedicated person that you can imagine. You can see the marks of them, you know, the marks that they have in the school. You can talk to their teachers and they will see that most of them have been the best students on that particular year. So they are so committed with their own development, so that we are wasting the best of our youth.
Some of them, they are artists. Some of them, they want to be doctors. Some of them, they want to be writers, and they don't have that access.
I think we're missing out. I think working with the youth group that I work with, I've seen each and every one of the youth and youth group shine in the environment that they've created in our youth group. There's talents that have emerged, there's leadership that has emerged, there's new skills and new responsibilities that come into the group. I've seen the group take on things. I've really seen the value that each of the individuals in the group that I work with brings to the group. And I think those skills and those personalities and those talents can really shine in Canada, and there's just no place for them to shine. And I think Canada's missing out by closing doors and not allowing people to grow and not allowing people to contribute. And I'm not saying that every single newcomer, immigrant, refugee youth is going to be like a perfect student and going to contribute and going to change Canada, but I think it's at the very least, we need to give them that chance.
I see myself becoming a refugee lawyer. I have had a long experience when it comes to immigration law in Canada, and I think I had learned a lot that I could help others not make the same mistake that maybe I made in the past. So I want to do that, and I also want to have my own like a refugee community where I could help, especially my Latin community. I think there's not a lot of Latin refugee lawyers in Toronto.
In 10 years' time, I see myself working somewhere between non-profit organization and government. So I see myself working with youth and health, in a health-related field, focusing on access to health and education.
I wanna specialize in children. I wanna be a psychologist. Hopefully, I could have my master in psychology and help children.
I know I am always pushing, and I know because I am hardworking, for sure, that things will be better and I would have a bright future in 10 years' time.
I am a very big dreamer. I see myself at least giving general doctor consultations or anything like that. I've seen myself as a doctor, I do, because I haven't given up on that possibility.
If we wanted to go talk to the deans, to the Minister of Education, to the people in college, to the people in universities and wherever, I think they will be open to find a solution for this. This is not about legal status. This is about the right to education that every human being have to materialize.
I believe the educational institutions, they have a commitment, which is provide education, provide knowledge to all the youth.
I would encourage people to kind of go grassroots a little bit and start encouraging admissions offices to be well informed around the multiple identities that anybody walking into that office might represent, and providing up-to-date information and providing holistic information and looking at each individual as the intersection of identities that individual represents and be able to best respond to that person.
So they have to understand that there's a lot of people that deserve it, and they might want to check on that, right? To open their hearts, open their minds. I mean, we're all human, and there is a thing called human rights, and we all have the right to study.
This is a lot of potential, which will benefit the educational institutions, because they will have a population that they will be graduating, and if they have accessibility to pay the fees, well, they will benefit also the universities. And at the end, who is going to benefit is the country, is the society, is the community.
I think we need to start the dialogue to open up education for anyone, regardless of their status, and I don't know why status needs to be a criteria for admissibility into colleges and university. I know that's a long way off, but I think we need to start the conversation now and start opening up space for precarious migrant youth, immigrant, refugee, non-status youth to achieve their goals.
We need to do is a lot of public education to bring them to make them visible, to let know to the society that these young people should have access to be themselves, to have a future, and to welcome them, because at one point they will become permanent residents and then citizens.
So the only thing that may happen is that Canada will be even wealthier, you know, richer than before. What else you can ask for a society when you give a young person the chance to be what they want to be? That's the whole dream of humanity.